Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I'm doing a review for The Strangers Chapter 1. I really was on the fence about whether or not I was going to do this, especially since I'm seeing it a little bit later than most of the people that are leaving reviews for it online. So 2024 film, rated R, 1 hour and 31 minutes. It has a 5.1 star rating on IMDb, so I think really actually the fan base is kind of split, and that's kind of where I fall. I didn't hate this movie, definitely to the degree of some of the titles of the reviews I've been seeing pop up on YouTube. After I make my review, I'll be definitely finally watching some of those reviews so I can kind of see if anyone picked up or felt similarly to me. So the biggest controversy 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 is about The Strangers Chapter 1 is why did we make it? Because we had a great movie in 2008. And while a long time ago I used to feel that way about why are we making remakes of movies that were good, but then somebody put it into perspective for me, and I try to always keep that in the back of my mind now, that if a movie came out 16 years ago, like The Strangers, or whatever movie 16, 15, 20 years ago, there's a whole new audience now that's not willing to go back to the originals. It maybe it's not accessible to them. That maybe they don't even know it exists. So when they see a commercial for a new 2024 film called The Strangers Chapter 1, that is a first time experience for a good portion of people. And then the theater or the movie producers and all that know that they're also going to probably cash in on people that did see the first run of movies. So some franchises, aren't necessarily designed to be franchises. The Strangers kind of is, and I think that's what this movie is trying to do. It's trying to retell a very familiar story in a way that can set up future stories rather than having a closed ending, sort of a one and done movie. I think that that is the current state of a good portion of horror and movies in general, is we're thinking as a movie studio trilogy, and that's unfortunate sometimes. A24, however, is doing a good job of doing a lot of fantastic one-off movies. Um, so I didn't have a very strong memory of the 2008 The Strangers, so I felt pretty confident that through the movie I wasn't going to be mentally comparing it. So that, I think, worked in my favor. The biggest thing I remember about the first Strangers movie was that I only watched it because of Liv Tyler, and that she was kind of like the up and coming actress at the time, and she was also in the Hulk movie. So I kind of like was looking at it at that level, and then coincidentally on this level, Madelaine Petsch was my draw to this because I'm one of the people that actually enjoyed the Riverdale CW TV show. So that's putting into perspective how I went into this movie. Very low expectations because it was already being bashed so much. I wished I could have seen this sooner, just with work and life. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. So the synopsis for this movie: after their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by three masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. Directed by Renny Harlin, written by oh my god, my speaking, Byron Bertino, Alan R. Cohen, and Alan Friedland, starring Madelaine Petsch as Maya and Ryan Bone as Jeff Morrell, and we have Scarecrow, Dollface, and Pinup And yeah, we do have Richard Brake as Sheriff Rotter, so a lot of horror fans will recognize him. Then there's a lot of other people. So the small town that they are, having to spend the night in a remote cabin, it's like a small town, just hundreds of people, not a big, huge city. I have to refer to my very brief notes because that's also the downside of seeing things in theaters for me is remembering thoughts. I did feel that the pacing was a little different, uh, and that I found myself kind of getting more in tune with the music and the sounds. So, like, my attention would wane. I would get tempted to pull out my phone. I think I might have been the only one in the theater. I did see it at a very early showing for the day, like the first showing of the day. So, weekday first showings, there's not like a ton of people in the theater. Um, but the music kind of did that thing. So that it's got that tropey feel of that you can expect something's about to happen based on the music and the sounds, which is fine. It's just, the way it is. I did feel like maybe 30 or more minutes in that this probably, when they were filming this, it didn't feel like they knew if it was going to go to theater or if it was going to go to stream. Like, it felt like the style seemed like it might have been better suited for streaming. Um, but then I think that maybe the studio just got caught up in because here's where we are. We have fans that complain that movies went right to streaming. So, but then we have movies like this that come out that I'm included in this, feel like it would have been better off going to streaming. And I think maybe the opening views for this movie would be bigger if it had gone to streaming. So, like, the studios are probably just like, what the we can't make everybody happy. That it's either go to the theaters or go to streaming. So I think it'll be interesting to see the next two chapters if they get released, if they go direct to stream, which seems to me that it's going to make the most sense. I think that this movie really was designed to kind of reintroduce the baseline story and uh, Cheryl Blossom Maya's character to us, and then we're going to get to see the next two chapters in a relatively short amount of time. I think that they're scheduled uh, to release relatively quickly, and they were all filmed at the same time. So I was reading on IMDb some of the trivia things about how during the mornings Madelaine Petsch would film for this first chapter, and then in the afternoon she would have to go to another location and do scenes for the other movies. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But overall, I do think that the movie was okay. It was just okay. I didn't hate it. I wasn't mad that I watched it. I did end up mentally remembering more of the original movie because I was watching this one, but I wasn't doing it in a way where I was comparing the two because I still, don't remember that I had very strong feelings about the first film in the first place. Of course, as a horror fan, I would have liked to have seen more of the Scarecrow and Dollface and Pinup and so forth. And maybe we'll get more of that later on. But, if you're on the fence, just wait it out. This, I'm sure, won't take long to get to streaming. Maybe it'll be on one of the platforms, Hulu or whatever, Amazon. I'm not sure. I didn't do the research to see where this is going to go after the theater. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens to the next two chapters. I think right now it's the trendy thing once enough bad reviews and people just like so aggressively hating a film comes out that it's the trendy thing to get views to also create a video in that manner, whether or not, I'm not questioning if whether or not people actually felt that way, but um, I'm not falling into that category. This was just an okay movie. I definitely have seen worse already. this year than this movie. I don't think it was the worst movie of 2024. So, Madam Web. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this review of The Strangers Chapter 1. Let me know in the comments down below if you've seen this, what your thoughts are. Do you kind of get what I was saying about why remakes are kind of a never-ending thing? And if you really think about it in the history of movies, this is not new. Just think of how many times Frankenstein was made. How many times was Dracula made? Like, do we only get the 1941 Dracula, or do we only ever get Count Orloff, Max Schreck movie, and then no other Dracula movies after that? Like, you got to kind of put it into perspective. Every 10 years, there's a new cycle of audiences and people that have no exposure to the originals. Anyways, I digress. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for checking in with Now It's Dark, and keep checking back to the channel for more great stuff.
Row 18, plot 20.